Alright guys, welcome back, and this is Mark with Realize the Self. And in today's video, we're going to go over the Sufi method to help with self-realization called polishing the mirror. In Sufi teaching, polishing the mirror is one of the most intimate metaphors for self-realization. Simple on the surface, endlessly deep once you live with it. The mirror and what it's for. The mirror is the heart, or the inner consciousness. Its natural function is to reflect truth, the divine reality that is always present. The problem isn't that truth is absent. The problem is that the mirror is clouded. And I was just listening to a show, a podcast or a video on YouTube talking about Nasar Gadada, how he's self-realized, and he makes a metaphor of being outside of a cloud, and everyone else that's not self-realized is inside of a cloud. And it's almost like being in a box, and then when you're self-realized, you're outside of the box looking in. So that's quite interesting. So rust, dust, and smoke come from the ego, compulsive desires, fears and attachments, pride, resentment, self-deception, distraction, and heedlessness. Sufis insist on something radical here. Nothing new needs to be added to the self, and that's quite correct. The self is about peeling back the layers to get to the true self, peeling back all the beliefs, peeling back all these programs, peeling back all this pride, resentment, deception, fears, attachments, all this stuff that they talk about to get to the gem, the true self that resides in the heart center of all of us. You don't acquire realization, you remove what obscures it. The heart is like a mirror. When it is polished, it reflects the real. From Rumi. What polishing actually means, it's not a simple practice, it's a way of living. Different Sufi orders emphasize different tools, but they all aim at the same inner clarity. Here are the main elements. Remembrance. Dhikr is the primary polishing cloth. Repeating divine names, phrases, or sacred formulas loosens the grip of compulsive thought. It quiets the ego's constant narration, returns awareness to presence. Over time, Dhikr wears away subtle layers of self-centeredness, especially the need to control, judge, or perform. The mirror doesn't get brighter because words are magical. It gets brighter because attention stops scattering. So it takes the attention of the mind, puts it to one word or one phrase, and from there you could go to nothingness, makes it a little bit easier. And we'll talk about mantras or repeating specific phrases and how they actually induce slower brain waves and can help with self-realization and awakening. And so self-observation, the Sufis talk about, is watching the self without defending it. And that's another one, just observing, awareness, the silent witness within. That's self-realization, that's the self. And the Sufis say, you notice when ego wants credit, when fear pretends to be wisdom, when desire dresses up as spirituality. No suppression, no indulgence, just clear seeing. Every time you catch the ego in the act and don't follow it, the mirror cleans a little. There's ethical refinement. Polishing isn't abstract, it shows up in how you treat people. Sufis say arrogance fogs the mirror, cruelty cracks it, hypocrisy warps it. Practicing humility, kindness, patience, truthfulness, especially when it costs you, scrubs off the layers that meditation alone can't reach. You can chant all night and still have a dull mirror if your conduct stays sharp and self-serving. And that's exactly right when it comes to self-realization. Without that loving kindness, the four Brahma Viharas we talk about, loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity, without those, there is no self-realization. Without love is the foundation. Love is the self. This is the self. When you meditate, when you get deep into it, when you go to that transcendent state, all you feel is love through every cell of your entire being. It's love. It feels like bliss. That is the self. Every cell radiates with blinding light and feels like infinite love, and that's our true self. Number 4, Sufis talk about love and longing. This is the fire that melts the deepest stains. Rational effort can only go so far. Love dissolves ego boundaries, burns away the illusion of separateness, shifts motivation from self-improvement to self-forgetting. Many Sufis say realization happens not when the mirror is perfectly polished, but when the polisher disappears. That's a great way to say that. What self-realization looks like in this model of polishing the mirror. When the mirror clears, something subtle but unmistakable happens. You stop feeling like a separate observer of life. Action flows with less internal resistance. Compassion arises without calculation. There's a quiet certainty that doesn't need proof. You don't see yourself in the mirror. You see reality as it is, unobstructed by ego distortion. That's why Sufis often say the final obstacle is the idea of being spiritual. And so you can also be spiritual but have a high ego too. It's called the spiritual ego, and that's very common too when you do, especially ayahuasca or plant medicines or exogenous substances. That's a very common, because once you do these and you experience these transcendental states, you get this kensho, or a glimpse of self-realization, of enlightenment. You get these magical experiences, and then the ego comes back stronger, called the ego backlash, and that I talk about in the book a lot. And this is why exogenous substances and technologies are not recommended, because they don't dissolve the ego. They can actually reinforce it, and this is a huge danger. It could actually be a huge trap, and actually could keep one from being self-realized. And I've seen that before too. People attach their whole identity or their whole personality on certain brain technology, or a plant medicine, or like, ayahuasca, ibogaine, peyote, that sort of stuff. And so they have to keep doing it over and over and over again. But it's really just a huge trap when you don't need anything. All you need to do is go inside. You don't need to take anything. All you got to do is the methods that we talk about, that all the ancient teachers, all the ancient peoples, they talk about all these ways to do it. There's tons and tons of ways. I name tons in the book. I go over 4 really main methods, but I lightly brush up probably dozens of different methods and ways to do it. And they're all they do is getting you to be in that awareness, to identify as the awareness, the witness, the observer within, and disidentify with the body, with the mind, with the emotions. And you could watch them come and go. Remember, everything that comes and goes is not real. Only the self that resides here does not come and go. And so that's it. That's a really fun way of looking at polishing the mirror from Sufism. And we talked about Rumi and other Sufi aspects in previous videos, but we really went in depth more into this polishing of the mirror. And I talk about too, like, it's like driving a car and you polish the windshield. If your windshield's not polished, you can't really see reality clearly, and you could like drive and like hit things, and and that causes suffering when you hit things. But when your mirror or your front windshield's polished, you drive and you go and you flow with life. Everything's smooth and you don't react, and you feel joy, you feel love. You're in this permanent peace and serenity and happiness, and that is who we are. We are that, and don't ever forget that. And thank you for being here. We'll see you on the next one.